10 ways Russia is preparing for World War III. Number 10. Defense training exercise. The theory that Russia could be preparing its citizens for war was very publicly confirmed on October 4th, 2016, when the country staged a gigantic scale evacuation drill, which involved a whopping 40 million people. The drill, which lasted 4 days and included participants from across the whole country, also involved 200,000 emergency rescuers and 50,000 units of equipment. Most countries run large-scale training exercises for its emergency services, but most of these rarely see the participation of more than 1,000 volunteers. What was also unusual about Russia's recent drill was that it had a strong focus on informing people what to do in the event of a hostile nuclear or chemical attack. The West has interpreted the events as, at best, a show of force intended to intimidate Russia's enemies, or at worst, preparation for a war that the Kremlin believes is imminent. Number 9. Nuclear armament. In 2010, Russia signed the New START agreement, which stated that both Russia and the USA agree to decrease their number of nuclear warheads and ballistic missiles by half by 2021. Russia seems to have a fairly loose definition of decrease because recent trends seem to indicate that it's currently ramping up its missile production. Among Russia's recent nuclear developments is a weapon that, according to Moscow, has the capability to destroy a country the size of France in a matter of seconds. This new missile, ominously named Satan II, is rumored to be equipped with stealth technology that will help it dodge enemy radar systems. The Russian Defense Ministry refuses to disclose the number of missiles it has recently produced, but it is estimated that their nuclear arsenal currently stands at 7,300 warheads, compared to America's 6,970. So why would Russia be stepping up its nuclear capabilities if they didn't believe that war could be right around the corner? Number 8. The return of the KGB. The KGB was the main security agency for the Soviet Union from 1954 until its dissolution in 1991. It was a military service which acted as internal security and secret police. It was also known for its corruption and brutality, with historians estimating that it was responsible for the deaths of millions of people deemed disloyal to the Soviet regime. In September, President Putin, an ex-KGB officer himself, announced his plans to overhaul the country's security services. He intends to merge the Foreign Intelligence Service with the Federal Security Service, which monitors domestic affairs, to make a new Ministry of State Security. The intention of this ministry is to seek out Russia's enemies in order to protect the country's national interests. Sound familiar? Well, according to Andrei Soldatov, reporter for Business Insider, this new ministry will be the KGB all over again. Number 7. Cyber attacks. On the 7th of October 2016, the US government formally accused Russia of committing a series of cyber attacks against Democratic Party organizations, ahead of the November 8th presidential election. The hackers stole more than 19,000 emails from Democrat officials. Despite the Kremlin denying responsibility for the attacks, the US government issued a statement saying that we believe, based on the scope and sensitivity of these efforts, that only Russia's senior-most officials could have authorized these activities. American officials believe that these thefts and disclosures are intended to interfere with the US election process, with the Russians trying to weaken their rival superpower's political stability. Number 6. The National Defense Control Center. In 2016, Russia's defense ministry announced its detailed plan for how the country would function in a time of all-out war. In a nutshell, these plans outlined that the defense ministry would pretty much take control of government offices, local administrations, and the police, effectively turning Russia into a military state. Plans for this wartime government even included the construction of a new wartime government HQ, aka the new National Defense Control Center, in Moscow, claimed by the Russian press to be more powerful than the Pentagon. This highly fortified building includes state-of-the-art war rooms, high-speed supercomputers, underground facilities, and secret transport routes for emergency evacuation. Basically, it's the perfect World War facility. Number 5. Reformation of the 1st Guards Tank Army. In February 2016, Russia announced its complete reformation of the 1st Guards Tank Army, which was previously a brutal Soviet armored formation that had fought as part of the Red Army during World War II. They had also been a leading force during the 1968 invasion of Czechoslovakia, which killed 108 civilians. The 1st Guards Tank Army had dissolved when the USSR collapsed in 1991, and since then it was deemed unnecessary because there weren't any threats that warranted it. But now, apparently, there are. The reformation of this army certainly does suggest a Russia preparing for war. Number 4. Deploying missiles in Kaliningrad. In October 2016, Russia stationed nuclear-capable missiles in Kaliningrad, a small piece of Russian territory between Poland and Lithuania. This set alarm bells ringing around the world, as it put Russia's weapons easily within striking distance of Western capitals such as Berlin. Lithuanian Foreign Minister Linas Linkevičius argued that the deployment not only increases tensions in the region, but also possibly violates international treaties which limit deployment of ballistic missiles of ranges of over 500 kilometers. Moscow defends the deployment as necessary retaliation to the US anti-missile shield being erected in Eastern Europe. Number 3. Families of Russian officials. In a bizarre move in 2016, the Russian government ordered all state officials and government workers to bring back their children if they're studying abroad and re-enroll them in Russian schools. Official reports state that there will be repercussions for government officials who fail to act upon the command, and they will find their non-compliance to be a complicating factor in the furtherance of their public sector career. The alleged reason behind this move is that it is based on a fear of having the children of the Russian political elite educated by foreign enemies. Number 2. Propaganda. A highly significant way in which Russia is preparing for war is by ensuring that its population is ready for such an event. TV networks often remind people to check where their nearest bomb shelter is. Prominent Russian TV network Zvezda also announced recently that schizophrenics from America are sharpening nuclear weapons for Moscow, obviously trying to cultivate anti-US sentiment among the Russian people. And this is not an isolated case. Yevgeny Kiselyov, host of the weekly news show Itogi and nicknamed Russia's propagandist-in-chief by The Economist, warned his audience that American impudence could take on nuclear dimensions. However, accusations of bias and propaganda spreading occur on both sides of this conflict. Kiselyov refutes the suggestion that he is any different from Western reporters, claiming that the era of neutral journalism is over. Number 1. Underground bunkers. Shocking revelations have been uncovered by US intelligence recently that the Russians have been spending several years and billions of dollars constructing nuclear-proof bunkers. With thousands of bunkers across the country, each designed to house 3,000 people, a large proportion of the Russian population would be able to use these facilities. The inhabitants of the bunkers would be supplied with chemical and radiation-proof suits, gas masks, food, medicine, and bunks to sleep on. Supplies are estimated to last for at least 6 months. That's all from me for now, but if you found this video interesting, make sure you check back here tomorrow when we'll be uploading 10 ways America is preparing for World War III.